Welcome to another great video. You could be leaving over $100,000 of CPP benefits on the table. That data point comes from a recent study from the FP Canada Institute, the lifetime loss of the average Canadian and the median CPP income who chooses to take it at 60 rather than 70 is over 100,000 of secured lifetime income. Wow. So that's a big figure.
That's
now
huge.
That's what we're going to be talking about today is that lifetime income. What is that lifetime loss? How do you calculate it? Why do we use it? And it all has to do with CPP.
Yeah, and basically what we're doing is when you take the CPP, it's a common decision for retirees. Do I take it at 60? Do I take it at 65? Should I be going at 70? Which way works best? Well, most of the time it's always been used as, well, what's the break-even number? And the break-even number is one way to take a look at things, but it really doesn't give you that lifetime loss. And that's what we really want to talk about here. So as opposed to the break-even approach, the study basically says that what we're going to do is how much are you leaving on the table? That is the bigger scenario that you should be looking at, because lifetime loss is simply the expected benefit of having taken CPP at an earlier age as opposed to a later age. So if we take a look at the numbers on here, what we're seeing is that, at 60, you're looking at $917, at 65, $1,400, and then at 70, you're looking at just over $2,000 that we're dealing with.
Yeah, this is setting up the study and some of the numbers they use to calculate that lifetime loss. Like your CPP numbers could be different than this. This is just part of the study. And they use inflation of 2%. That leads us to the study, the lifetime loss, saying, well, the decision was 60 versus 70. We'll look at a few other examples. We'll start with this one, 60 versus 70 lifetime loss. They looked at men, life expectancy of 86. They actually used 85.9.
Close.
And they used females, 88.5. Call that 86, 89. But the idea here, taking it at 60 versus 70 for the average man that lives to about 86, well, it's $131,000 left on the table. That's in today's terms. If you inflate that, saying, hey, I'm going to get a little more in the future with this inflation adjustment, that's future dollars, about $206,000 left on the table by taking it at 60 versus 70. That's the concept of lifetime loss for CPP. And the paper is really arguing that figure gives you better context than looking at some kind of break-even spreadsheet, because this tells you how much money is actually left on the table. Finishing the table here, the females, if you assume they live to 89, well, now you got future dollars of $276,000 left on the table, or in today's terms, $152,000 if you take it at 60 versus 70. So that's some big numbers there. And we're going to get even more nuanced here. Our financial planner, Anna Boss, helped calculate a few more figures based on the study to give us all the different comparisons.
Yeah, and as we said, just what we're talking about, this is lifetime loss. This is money that you're leaving on the table. Again, the break-even scenario more or less says, well, you assume you're going to die at a certain point, so maybe that works well. Here's what we're telling you based on averages as to how much you're actually leaving there. So if you take a look at the numbers, if we use the average life expectancy even of 83, and that first thing, if you're looking at 60 starting to 65, let's assume that lifetime loss, you're looking in today's dollars about 63,000, but you go future dollars, that's 100 grand. That's the 100,000 we're talking about. And that's even at the age of 83. That's less than what we've been doing at. And as you move up that scale, as you can see, at 90, it becomes $172,000 worth of future. And by the time you get to 100, well, now you're almost at $300,000 that you have left on that table. So the longer you live, you're leaving more indexed money on the table that you can't deal with. And then again, we see the same study going on with 60 versus 70, 65 versus 70. But you'll notice that in every case, you're leaving money on the table, even going to the age of 83, which is not really a large view from going 70. It's only 13 years.
Yeah, and the longer you live, and that's what the table's saying, they use that 83 as the first option in all the different comparisons. And say, well, what if you happen to live to 90? What if you happen to live to 100? Of course, the longer you live, the bigger the benefit of delaying CPP, because you get that larger payment for so much longer. But even if you pass away at low 80s, which again is a lower life expectancy, it's still telling you you're leaving money on the table by taking it early versus later. And we'll pull all this together to talk about when to take the CPP. But first, we get lots of questions on CPP. You might be listening to this, having your own question on CPP. How do folks get a hold of us?
You go to chatwithclintonkevin.com. By all means, you go on there, give us your question. If you want any more about CPP, lifetime loss, anything on CPP, OAS, or if you have any other financial questions, please leave those questions there. Send them to us. They go directly to Clint and myself. We'll be the ones getting back to you on it as quickly as we can on those answers. And that gives you options as to what goes on. But also, there's another thing that we have.
We have a newsletter. If you like videos like this, we do have a newsletter that provides similar financial planning tips every week. We also do a lot of free webinars, and we invite the folks on the newsletter list to the webinars. So if you want to attend one of those, you should sign up. There's a link in the description of this video. Click that if you do want to be part of the newsletter community. getting to the when to take CPP, we've done other videos on this. We're going to talk about it quickly, but there's first that break-even mentality. And that's what this lifetime loss is trying to get away from. So
Yes.
don't do the break-even mentality. If you're one of the break-even, 60 versus 65, it's about 73. 65 versus 70, it's about 81, meaning if you lived in that scenario after 81, well, it would have made more sense to delay the CPP. If you died prior to that, taking it early would have made more sense. Now, of course, we don't know how long we're going to live, and it kind of underscores the benefit that you have this secured, guaranteed, inflation-adjusted pension, which is CPP. And that's what the lifetime loss is trying to capture, is give you an actual dollar figure. So the break-even's a little misguided. Using this lifetime loss and these figures could give you some better context.
Yeah, and the thing always used to be, well, I better take my CPP now because it may not be there later on. Well, right now, CPP is funded roughly for the next 75 years. So if you're even close to this time frame, the chances are you're going to be good for quite a while. You don't have to worry about it. So taking it at 60, 65, 70, that's going to become a discussion that you have to do. You don't have to immediately take it at 60 for that reason. So the break-even becomes even less. So what we're dealing with, as I say, we want to look at how much are you losing at the end of the day. The break-even doesn't give you that. And with the assumption that people are living longer, this is definitely going to be leaving money on the table. With the enhanced CPP, of course, what you're going to get is an even bigger loss going forward because we've been making enhancements. So, I mean, typically the decision depends on many factors. Your retirement time frame and your income, whether you need the money beforehand or can I delay it, longevity, expected how long you're going to live. Some people say, oh, family history isn't there, but you may be the exception to that. Tax planning is another thing. Am I going to have to take more money down from RIFs and LIFs later? What do I delay this so I can do it earlier? And, do you have a secure pension somewhere else? Do you have a defined benefit contribution plan that you contributed to that's paying you have to leave? So all these things have to be looked at. But again, that's going to be a big decision as to what your CPP is going to deal with.
Yeah, those are the factors that are trying to answer the question, when to take CPP. We're saying break even, probably not a good thing to use. Lifetime loss, a little better. And then all these additional factors that you just mentioned there, which is your own timeline, when you need the income, how long you're going to be retired, your own family history. Tax planning is a big one. We see quite a bit.
Big time.
Worth repeating. Often people are like, I got all this money in my RSPs. It's going to be taxable. Well, delaying your CPP and your OAS in that scenario and then giving you a little window there to chip away at the RSPs could make a lot of sense.
Yep.
So there's other factors at play that could also influence the decision. We've talked about those at length in other videos. We're just mentioning them here to give you an idea of what is involved. The study did have some data, but when do Canadians take their CPP? You can see the figure, the table there on the screen. It is from 2019, but no surprise, it's 60 and 65.
Yep. Those seem to be the first 2 days they get. If you get your first crack, people say, oh, I can get CPP today. I'm going to take it. It doesn't matter what's going on, how much I'm losing. I'm going to take it at 60 because I'm going to get that free money. And I still have that same mentality where, oh, maybe it won't last for me. And then, of course, 65 is just your typical. I'm retired. 65 is the average day. This is the day they want you to take it. I'm going to take it from there. And as we can see, really less than 1% ever take it past that 65 time frame.
Yeah, the amount that will wait all the way to 70 is less than 1%. And the kind of the thrust of the study here is saying, well, maybe more people should consider that option.
Yeah.
And that's what the lifetime loss is trying to get at. And if we pull all this together, it kind of leads us to the Becker Orr motto that there is no one size fits all when it comes to when to take CPP. Well, my neighbor took it at 60, I'll take it at 60. Probably not a great idea. More attuned would be to follow the motto, which is
have a plan. That's the basic thing. Make sure you have your financial plan. Make sure it's structured to what you want to do because that's going to give you those benefits. As Clint mentioned beforehand, some of the things, maybe you're chipping away at that RSP or that RIF. You want to get these numbers down. Maybe pushing it back is going to be better for you. It's going to give you more money in the long run and allow you to continue. And remember, CPP is not a separate decision. It should fit into your overall plan, just like taxes aren't. Anything else, your investment strategy, it all fits together. Have a plan.
Absolutely. And often when we talk CPP, people will ask us questions like, well, is CPP even secure? Is it fully funded? If I die, does the government get all my money? Those are common misconceptions. We address them in the video right here. Click on that one, and we'll see you again soon.
Take care.